It's about the journey, not the destination. Reality is better than imagination. When I feel free, free to be me. When I feel free, free to be me.
Welcome, everybody, to Travel Your Heart, a podcast where two gay grandpas explore life's travels together. Hi, everybody. This is Grandpa Bobby.
Grandpa Scott.
And welcome to a very special episode of Travel Your Heart. So, what are we doing here, Grandpa?
Well, as many of you know already, we are on a 6-week-long road trip. You got those fingers right. Very good. 6-week-long road trip through the United Kingdom and Ireland. And we are currently where, Grandpa?
Well, we are actually, if you can look around, we're in a beautiful little stone cottage on the northern coast of Wales. Take a look. Ready? As you know, we typically rent Airbnbs because we have all this camera equipment, etc. So it really helps. So we're actually in northern Wales, and it's a little blustery morning. So we thought, well, you know what? Why don't we take this morning before we go out and try something a little different and do a podcast from here?
Yeah, we thought it'd be fun. And we also are starting the day with a cuppa.
A cup of coffee.
A cuppa.
Cuppa, they call it.
So what we thought might be fun is to start this podcast about driving on the left side of the road.
You know, as Grandpa Scott mentioned, we're doing a 6-week driving trip. So to get to all the places, we had to drive. And, you know, we were a little hesitant about doing it. And it's very interesting. So we thought we would share some thoughts and some experiences on that.
And some hints.
And some hints, hopefully helpful hints for you in the future. So we kind of titled this episode, Driving on the Left. Mind you, you don't call it driving on the wrong side of the road because it's very typical for the people here to drive this way.
And it's perfectly right side for them, the correct side.
It's a little different and challenging. So we thought we'd share our thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Okay, so now the first thing we wanted to point out is in many relationships, and especially in ours, there is typically a driver and a navigator. Now, in our marriage, we have found the best solution is Grandpa Scott drives, I navigate. Trust me, you never want to drive with Grandpa Scott as a passenger. Grandpa Scott is it's like driving with an asthmatic squirrel. There is constantly the, look at that, look out for that.
Okay. The subtext of this, I'm the better driver.
Well, I will admit he is the better driver. But, you know, when he is the passenger, he's constantly putting his foot through the floor of the car for the brake. So we learned after the first few months of being together, Grandpa Scott drives, I navigate. So I want to ask Grandpa Scott, as the driver, what's it like literally putting the car on the opposite side of the road from what you're used to?
It was strange. It throws you off. Your sensibilities when you come from the States or any place that, you know, you drive on the right, everything shifts when you're on the left, your perceptions and everything. It's like one of the hardest things was to keep certain that your car is in the center of the lane, because I was so afraid to break off a side mirror on the road to the left that I would scooch over maybe too far to the center lane, and then you get all the traffic coming. So you find yourself for the first couple of days playing this, am I over too far this way? Am I over too? And it takes a while to get that center point. And so that was
and to get
difficult.
used to the mirrors, because it's very strange. You go many times, even as a navigator, you look in the mirror and you help the person, but you're seeing things completely differently. So it's very disconcerting.
Yeah, another thing that I found disconcerting was when you're driving down the road and you have traffic coming at you. And we'll talk probably about this a little bit later, but when they want to they're in the right-hand lane coming at you, and they want to turn in front of you. And so they're signaling turn in front of you. And it's like, oh my God, is there going to be an accident? I noticed that for the first couple of days.
Yeah. And it does take several days to get really comfortable with it. You kiss a lot of curbs. Judging where the car is on the left side, I'm like, whoa, a little too much. We kissed the curb that time. Or you go up over the curb a little bit.
Yeah, the tires, the tires on the left side of the car that we're in.
Get a little more use.
They become very intimate with the curve on those first couple of days.
And that brings us to some of our first tips. Number one, always get an automatic.
Yeah.
We can imagine driving a manual. If you remember, the manual stick shift would be in the center, and so you'd be using a different
left hand.
and that would be very challenging. So always order an automatic, even though it'll probably cost more. And then also always get the maximum insurance possible. They have extra insurance, and then they have extra insurance. And even when we got here, when we were going to the rental car place, they told us about this little extra insurance where you're not liable for anything. And so we got that.
And it didn't cost that much more.
No, it was
about 190
pounds. No, 190 pounds here. And for the peace of mind, because as we'll tell you, driving on the roads, you'll want that extra.
Yeah, because a lot of people told us you will lose a side view.
Not yet. We haven't.
We haven't done it yet, but we have seen vehicles with dangling ears.
And the other thing too is definitely get GPS.
Yes.
It's not just that you don't know how to read maps, because we always take an atlas with us so I can follow along where we're going. But it's the intricacies of turning and this and the roundabout. You want to have a GPS.
And that leads to a very good point. I think for us, it was great to have the two of us in the car for this first time. Because when those initial days that I, as the driver, was experiencing, I was so focused on not banging the car to the left, not running over the lane and hitting a car on the right, making sure that I wasn't holding up people behind me, because we'll talk about that in a bit. But it was really great I said, Bobby, especially when it comes to roundabouts, and we'll talk about those, how is it working? Where am I going? So I'm focused. Bob's looking at the GPS saying, okay, you're going to go into the roundabout, you're going to exit to the left at 9 o'clock, or you're exiting to the right. At 3 o'clock, it'll be the third or fourth exit. And so I had that in my head, and it was really helpful. I don't know how anyone does it solo for those first couple of days.
And we've also experienced something very interesting, and that is cars that are not made in the UK but are adapted to drive here. Why don't you talk about that experience?
Oh, yeah, I'll just put my coffee down.
About that.
I do have a big issue with that. So I'm looking at our car, and the passenger side has all this wonderful room at the feet where you should have had your gas pedal, your clutch, your brake, whatever. And then on the side now where they have the steering wheel, it's in the side where normally the passenger would sit, so there's less room. So you have your clutch, your brake, your gas, like a quarter inch apart. And with an automatic, it was just your brake and your accelerator. But if you have shoes on and you got a little bit of a wide foot, as I do,
which he does,
sometimes you think you're moving from the accelerator to the brake to slow down, and you hit both. And I talked to several people, and it's because a lot of the cars that are made outside of the UK that are used to driving on the right side of the road, all that they've done is move the steering wheel and the pedals and all that to the passenger side in that little space. And so if you have...
It's not designed for driver comfort.
Yeah, so maybe the best thing, and we'll check this out, is to get rent a vehicle that was made in England, and maybe they've adapted for that space, because I have done that many times, gone to brake and also hit the accelerator. It's not a good move.
So let's talk a little bit about the roads here, because I will say...
A little?
Well, their roads are in excellent repair compared to some of the things we've experienced in the United States. And obviously, they have fewer of them, but they do keep them in very good repair.
No, let's be honest here. as the driver, there are some roads that we have been on that I swear were basically sheep paths that they put a white line down the center of for people to go and travel on. And many times the posted limit is 60 miles per hour.
Now, let's also qualify that we haven't been driving in the cities much. We drove through the city of Bristol when we rented the car, but for the most part, we have been driving through southern England, southern Wales, and northern Wales, through the main roads and through the country roads. And they have, their roads are designated M's, which are their major highways.
Kind of like a freeway.
Yeah. A's, which are their big artery roads, and then B's and smaller roads. The funny thing is, we originally thought, well, let's keep to the smaller country roads. We're not experiencing, oh no. Our advice, stay to the biggest roads possible because they drive like American freeways do.
Yeah.
The small country roads.
Okay, here's a small country road for you, my first one. It was a 12-foot hedgerow on one side, a 12-foot hedgerow on the other side. The road was like that.
No shoulders.
No shoulders. And curvy. And there are also bikers and pedestrians on those roads and a lot of blind curves. And like I'm doing 8 and 10 miles per hour because I didn't want to hit anybody.
Yeah.
And
everybody else wants to drive 60. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's not 60 kilometers, 60 miles an hour on these curvy little roads. They're used to it. Yeah. And occasionally you'll come across a curve and they're coming right at you. And you have this give and take, which they have it down pretty well here. If you have a more clearance on your side, you get over, even if it means getting into the hedge. And then they come around. And the cute thing is, everybody has a little wave here. Now, you typically, Americans go, I give a big wave. Oh no! If you are a local here, be it in southern England or in Wales, you just give a little lift of the finger off the steering wheel, just a little acknowledgement.
Yeah, they do that in Ireland too. I think they call it the Irish flick.
Yeah, we'll find out.
We'll find out. We'll be going there soon. But yeah, I mean, once you get the hang of it, it can be enjoyable. Have I gone 60 miles an hour on those small country roads? None on your life.
But the funny thing is, they have all this beautiful acreage, expanding for miles on either side of the road. Cut the hedges! Why
you can't see it?
And you could widen the roads or give us a shoulder or something. It is, I think, a perverse pleasure they take in maintaining this tradition. If it was good enough for the ox cart, it's good enough for my giant SUV.
Or your BMW or your big Mercedes.
Or your Audi.
Yeah.
They tend to go the fastest here. And big Range Rovers, they take perverse pride in it and they love it. So let's talk about roundabouts.
Oh, yes, roundabouts.
Oh, dear Lord.
I watched a lot of videos about how to drive in the UK
and we advise you to do so too.
Yeah, it's good information. The only problem is when you get here, none of the people who are local follow the rules, quite honestly. And, the roundabout, we have several in the States and we've driven in them and they're okay. I don't have an issue with them at all. The issue is when you get a roundabout that's 2, 3, 4 lanes, and you have to be very aware of the etiquette of driving around them if everybody's following the same etiquette. So it takes a while to get used to it. It's no problem if you're like driving on the left and your first exit is on the...
That's the easiest one, is the first exit.
The 9 o'clock on the roundabout, easy.
It's when you're exiting 3 o'clock in 4 lanes, and you have to be in the farthest lane. And then as you move through the roundabout, you're supposed to shift over lanes with people coming up on your left. When you're used to driving on the other side, it's challenging.
And you have to yield, even though you have the right, you're turning to the left. You still need to slow down and look to your right. For heaven's sakes, look to your right, because if a person is in the roundabout, they have the right of way.
Right.
All right. And don't anticipate people that are going to signal. I think the only people that use their signals
Are the Americans.
are Americans, and maybe some Canadians, who knows. But honestly, once you get the hang of it, it does get easier.
But then they throw things at you. Like,
yes.
they'll put stoplights.
Stoplights.
Like, wait a minute,
And the
I thought the
roundabout.
whole purpose of a roundabout was to avoid stoplights.
Mhm.
And then suddenly we're in a roundabout and there's a stoplight. Like, what the?
And sometimes the roundabout is halfway through, the stoplight is halfway through the roundabout.
Yeah.
We've had that situation.
And then sometimes a roundabout isn't a round about.
It's a crescent.
It might be a crescent.
Or
it
a
might
triangle.
be a triangle. Or, that
And
can
then
be-
you have the roundabouts that go into another roundabout.
it's
But
a special hell.
you know, just what you need to do is if you make a mistake,
Just go
around the roundabout again.
You know, and sometimes if it's very complicated, I advise just, hey, let's check it out first. Go around and then make your decision. Particularly, we found that here in Wales, because the Welsh take great pride in their language.
Yeah.
Beautiful language. Very difficult to speak if not your native
With my
tongue.
tongue, yeah.
And what they do is they post all their signs in both languages.
Welsh first.
Yep, and then English below it. Now, the Welsh take great pride in using every single letter in the alphabet in their words.
Twice or three times.
They're very long words. And then when you're in an exitway that has at least 3 exits in it, and they're putting each exit in the sign, in the letters, in both languages.
But the English language is on the bottom of the sign.
Yeah, and you're
So by the time you read the sign to get to your language, you've
You're
passed your
past
exit.
just
So
go
to the
around.
bottom of the sign, read. If your primary language is English, go to the bottom of the sign, read the English.
And just go
translation.
around
Yeah.
again. And if you are the navigator like I am, the best advice to give is 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 o'clock, because you can't say first exit, second exit, or third, because it changes. Sometimes there are only 2 exits. So yeah, just be aware of that. The other thing we found that with driving is in as the southern states in Arizona and in California, we wear sunglasses all the time because it's very sunny. Here, it's not always sunny, but it does have sunshine.
Yeah.
However, it's difficult wearing sunglasses here driving through the country because of what I call the enchanted forest effect.
The trees are so close to the road, and they grow up and they grow over and they form this like dark tunnel. And mind you, you're on a narrow road, traffic in both directions, plus bikers, horses, dogs, sheep. And if you're wearing sunglasses, and I speak from personal experience on this, and you go into there, it's like a blackout.
Mhm.
And so
And to the point where your GPS goes from night mode to
day mode to
night mode. I mean, it's that severe. So really be careful of that, because suddenly your perception can change and you're like driving into a tunnel.
Oh, one more word about the roundabout. Look, if you make a mistake and get off on the wrong exit, like we have.
Oh, not that we haven't done that.
Yeah, really. You just go down, and the first opportunity you can, at the next roundabout, just go around the roundabout, come back.
Yeah.
Or if there isn't, and there's just it's a T intersection, and they do have those, you just go and find a place that's a little bit of a wide space and make a UE. We didn't know if that was legal or not, but we've been here long enough to watch all the locals doing it.
There are people that make 3-point turns in the middle of the road. I kid you not. It's like, oh my God, but they just do
It's
it.
just, people are used to it.
And sometimes with your GPS, if you make a wrong turn, I wouldn't necessarily always just take the new corrected turn, because we have done that. And God love her, our GPS has taken us through these little country lanes.
Yeah, she has strokes
So
occasionally.
sometimes get off, turn back, go back through the roundabout again.
And you know what? If you can, and you're going through a small town and you see a cafe or a pub, stop, go in,
Have a
get a cuppa.
cuppa.
Don't get a pint. You
Yeah,
do
no.
not want to drink and drive here, okay? Save your pints for the end of the day when you don't have to drive and you're going to your flat, your apartment, your tent, whatever.
Yep.
But if you just get a little tense, find the nearest place that you can pull over, catch your breath, and then just get back into the flow, because you will become more comfortable
Mhm.
with it. You will learn And I mean, if I can learn, anyone can learn.
And you brought up a good point about stopping along the way, because unlike the States, gas isn't always on every quarter of the mile down the road. So when you have an opportunity to get gas.
Yeah, we never let the tank get past half.
No, it's advisable. And it's so charming here. You literally just get out, put your hose in the gas, and then you go pay for it. And the first time...
It's almost like an honor system.
Yeah, it is. The first time we went to get gas, I went in and they said, just put gas in the car and come pay for it. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, another thing that we've noticed especially on the country roads, is the honor system of purchasing stuff. People will put out eggs for sale, and the little bin will be down by the store, and their farm may be up on a hill, and all you do is you pull over, get your eggs, and you put your money. It's honor system, or vegetables or anything. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and it's so weird because it was so unexpected for us. So we always have to pay first, and then, but yeah, and they do convenience tap here everywhere. Honestly, you really don't have to have much actual cash on you. You tap and pay and go at the gas everywhere. It's pretty easy.
Some of the smaller communities,
very small. Yes, very small.
And also carry coins. Have some coins for parking.
Yeah, well, let's talk about parking. Okay, we've had a lot of experiences with parking. Now, when you're going to a big venue like Carnarvon Castle or Conway Castle or these big castles, first word of advice is get there early.
And by early, if it says it opens at 9:30, don't get there at 9:15 because you won't find a parking place. Because everybody now knows the trick about going early. So when we say go early, we mean go early.
Yeah.
We get there.
We try to get there about half an hour before entry times.
Yeah. We'll walk around, maybe do some of the external videotaping that we want to do. Or we will stop at a place that's open and have a cuppa, some coffee. So yeah, but
and a scone.
If you're going to a major tourist site and you think, well, we can get there by in an hour after it opens.
Yeah, especially if it's a major tourist site. And that way you get to choose where you want to park. When you do park, always remember it's a good tip to put your side mirrors in.
Yes.
Their parking spaces are very small. And
like their country road.
Yeah, like their country road. So it's a good advice. The other thing, too, is their parking, you always, except for one exception we had, you always have to pay for parking. Now, their parking meters are all very different. First word of advice is if you rent a car, take a picture of your license plate, because when you go to pay for it, that's the first thing you have to do is put in your car registration, as they call it. Many times they will take coin, but many times they don't. And you can do a simple tap. One place drove us crazy. You had to have an app on your phone.
Yes.
And then they had to send a confirmation code to your telephone, but our telephone wasn't a UK phone. So we went into the place, complained, and they let us pay them instead. But primarily you can do tap, but it's just that each machine, just like, in the US ATM, they're all kind of different. Their pay machines are different. So just be aware of that.
There was one place that we thought we paid, but we didn't, the machine didn't issue a receipt or anything. And when we came back, we had a parking ticket.
50 pounds.
50 pounds. And we stopped the gentleman who just happened to be there, the officer who was going around ticketing. And we said, but sir, we paid, but the machine didn't give it. Very nice, very wonderful officer, very friendly. And he said, let me check. And he said, well, no, it didn't go through. He said, but if you go and quickly pay it, it'll only be half. So instead
we went online and we paid. Our lesson was a 25-pound fee. So yes, definitely have to pay for your parking.
Yeah.
Always have coins. Try to figure out or ask someone for help in using the machine.
Yeah.
And don't try to pay it on the phone apps because it's very challenging for US phones. I wouldn't advise it.
Yeah, well, I don't know why sometimes the app, we did get a couple on it, but there were still some issues. What's next, Grandpa?
Well, the very last thing is pulling out on the road. Now, the challenge here is the countryside is absolutely stunning. Everything you've seen on any BBC show, it is exactly
it's
like that. It is
gorgeous.
so beautiful. But the challenge for Grandpa Scott especially is they take it for granted. They don't have pullouts where you can just see the beauty. Oh no, they have hedgerows. Hedgerows or little low walls, stone walls here, especially in northern Wales. And you don't have much chance
as a driver
to see it. So it's very challenging to find a turnout. Now, when they do have turnouts, they come up very quickly.
Very quickly.
They'll give you a little sign, and then suddenly it'll be there. It's not like the US, where they have these long extensions of the road to lead you in. The same way for cars joining the roads. Oh my gosh. Cars coming to your left, to your right, they come right to the edge of the road.
That's a T intersections.
They come right to the edge. So there's not a lot of runways. They don't have many of the clover leaves that we have in the US. So take your pullouts when you can. And they have a special pullout. That is a white letter P on a blue sign. And that P sign has, we have found, multiple meanings.
One, it's a place to park, but mostly it's a place to pee. Literally pee.
They don't have, at least we haven't seen. We have been driving now for nearly 2 weeks. We have not seen a single rest stop along a highway.
Well, we did see a couple on the
big M's.
The M's.
Yeah, but there are very few
usually
M's
with the
in
gas
the entire
station
country. So you either make sure when you fill up your gas,
take a wee.
But when it comes to it,
shouldn't that be leave a wee? If you know the difference, should it be take a wee or leave a wee?
Anyway, that P we have found that stands for a lot of things, and people are, especially men, I have no idea, poor ladies, what you do, but men are definitely not hesitant.
Guys, we're fortunate because you just whip it out and you do it. I always saw two ladies discreetly try to handle it.
Let's not go
with car doors open, but bless their heart, ladies, good luck.
Yeah.
So if you do stop for a lunch at a cafe or something and you think, I can hold it. No,
don't. If you have a chance, go. So, but all in all, Grandpa, what would you say about driving here in Great Britain so far? Now, mind you, we have not driven yet in Ireland or Scotland, and we will be, so we'll report on that experience later. But so far, what would you sum it up?
Honestly, it's really a wonderful thing to do, because when you drive, when you have the car, it allows you to hit some of the off the beaten path places that we like to go to, castles and ruins, and that most people don't get to see.
Yeah, things that we've discovered that when we talk to locals, they advise us, and you'll see them in some of our videos, small little castles or ruins or just quaint little towns that are not on the radar of all the travel guides. You really can't get to unless you have your own vehicle.
Yep. And it does mean driving. Well, look at a couple of the videos, and I took the video of the driving course for the United Kingdom. And that'll give you some background and make you feel a little more comfortable. When you get here, the only thing that we would suggest, I would not pick up my car at Heathrow. Okay. We did take a train to Bristol, and we went to the airport there. That's where we got our car. And
drive around the parking lot a few times until you just get familiar with it, and know that it will take more than a day or two to really get comfortable.
The key is just remember, you're on the left, and that was my mantra. The left, Scott. The left, Scott. And after a few days, it just became very normal, and now I'm starting to worry about
what it's going to be
what
like.
The heck I'm going to do when I get back to the States.
Yeah, because sometimes you find you accidentally turn up the wrong side of a road, and you catch yourself. And I wonder if we're going to have the reverse happen to us when we get back to the States.
What he's referencing is day 2. I thought I was turning on the roundabout in the left lane, but I was actually turning. It was the left lane, but it was about the traffic coming around the roundabout, and we must have had some guardian angels on us that day, folks, because I got halfway around that roundabout going the wrong way
Come
without
on,
traffic.
who hasn't driven up the wrong side of a one-way road in their life? You know what? Hey, nobody died.
Tell me, every small church after that went in and I lit candles because
Now you'll also understand why we have never been taping or audio taping inside the car, because we would have to bleep out every other word. We try to make it look easy, but there are challenges. Just know every day you're going to get lost. Some degree, you're going to make a wrong turn.
Yeah, and just
Hey,
you'll do it.
Yeah,
You'll do
you'll
it.
get
You
there.
can if this old fart can do it, you can, honestly.
So what'd you think of this episode, Grandpa? Our very special episode.
I love doing this. I love doing this. Now, guys, we're not doing this with all the fancy studio equipment we have back home.
No multiple
I mean,
cameras.
we're doing no multiple cameras. We're doing this with these little simple mics. So bear with us
special
on
lighting.
the quality, perhaps, of the vocal. We'll do our best. But we hope you enjoy it.
Yeah, let us know what you think. If you
Yeah.
like this, perhaps we'll try one in Ireland or Scotland along the way.
Absolutely. You can let us know. You can actually text us a message if you want to whatever venue you're using to listen to our podcast. We'd love to hear.
Yep. So normally we say what our next episode is going to be, but who knows?
We have no
We
idea.
have no idea what they're bringing.
But whatever it is, guys, we think it'll be fun and interesting.
So also, we'd appreciate it if you're enjoying this podcast to please subscribe to our podcast wherever you get your podcast. And also, if you're interested in watching our videos, we'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to Two Gay Grandpas Travel and
on YouTube.
And give us a like and hit the notification bell. It really helps in those algorithms, and so that we can keep making more videos, more podcasts, and bring you along on our journeys.
Yeah, absolutely.
So until next time, we really appreciate your viewing us
Or listening to us.
Or listening to us. And as we always say, whenever you travel your heart. Goodbye,
Bye,
folks.
everybody.